What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ, Bucky, Rhett back with you. Coming off of a Monday night massacre, I think that would be an appropriate way to describe what we saw last night. Buck, how are you doing, man? Welcome back from London. How was the flight?
A long one. Then I'm gonna do another one this weekend. So back and forth. I will say, Rhett, you were A1 about the lounges, making sure you make our way to certain lounges, Amex Lounge, Virgin Athletic.
Got to get it done.
Lounge. It's a lot of fun hanging there. But man, 11 hours for like a game.
You're going to spend more time in like international airspace in the next 7 days than in either London or the United States. So that's pretty solid. Good for you, man.
But you know what makes it worth it? Being Diamond. We won't give a shameless plug to an airline. But you know what? You know what is worth it? When you're a Diamond, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Hey, enjoy it now. It's all going away, brother.
Hey, no. They talked about some changes. Trying to bring it back. Come on.
I'll tell you what, this is a glimpse inside to the scouting world, by the way. We talk about this on the scouting show. Nobody talks more about hotel points and airline miles than Road Dogg scouts. Buck, let's jump into last night's game. This was to say it was a butt kicking is an understatement. 24-3 is the final score. It didn't even feel that close. In a game where the Giants offensively ran the ball pretty well, but didn't really have to do anything. I mean, sorry, not the Giants. The Seahawks ran the ball pretty well, but other than that, they didn't have to really do anything offensively. They just throw your defense out there and watch the Giants implode offensively, which is what happened. 11 sacks, turnovers. The Giants couldn't do anything offensively in this game, and it felt like Pete Carroll and the Seahawks were content to just, hey, let's just run the ball and get out of here. They're not going to do anything on the other side.
Yeah, there's something to it. There was very kind of like a throwback feel to this game when it came from the Seahawks perspective. Defense was able to get after it, 11 sacks, and the relentless pressure that they were able to apply on Daniel Jones. To me, that's what stood out. This is a team that has really tried to find its way on defense, and we're beginning to see the last two classes that they've stacked together, some of the free agent additions that they've added to it. This is more like the vintage Seahawks teams that we remember from the 2010s. If they're able to kind of harass quarterbacks and bruise and batter running backs and wide receivers like they were on Monday night, this Seattle Seahawks team looks really, really good. In a division that also features a bully in the San Francisco 49ers, this looks like a team that can go toe-to-toe with some of those top teams.
Yeah, Hawks and Niners first matchup will be pretty interesting here. You know, I kept looking at what the Giants were dealing with, right? And obviously they're shorthanded coming in along the offensive line. Andrew Thomas is out again, has been out. Obviously, they're still not quite where they want to be on the right side. But then, you know, you got John Michael Schmitz, the rookie center, who leaves in the first quarter of the game. You got to move Bredesen over to center. Lemieux comes in at guard. Then Lemieux goes down in the fourth quarter. And, yeah, you're talking about, like, preseason rotations of offensive linemen in here in the second half. And it showed. But I think to say that it was all because the Giants have a patchwork offensive line right now is not giving enough proper respect to the Seattle Seahawks, who not only 36 pressures this week. Okay, 36 pressures to lead the league on Daniel Jones and the Giants this week. But it's not just this week. They led the league in pressures last week too. Like this, they are sandwiched right in between the 49ers and the Cowboys amongst teams that are getting the most pressure on quarterbacks right now at number 2. That's pretty dang good. And who's doing it? Yeah, Uchenna Nwosu's part of it. How about Derek Hall, the rookie second-round pick from Auburn, who we didn't talk about a ton really going into the draft last year, but, you know, was one of those guys that was putting a ton of pressure on Daniel Jones last night. How about Boye Mafe really starting to come on? The second-round pick a couple years ago out of Minnesota. Like, they've got some young players in there, some vintage, some veteran, guys as well. And then you had a vintage performance from Bobby Wagner, too. And when you start getting all that pressure, DJ, that's when guys like Devin Witherspoon start to pay off in the back end.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Witherspoon in just a second. I'm going to go back, though. You mentioned Derek Hall. Let's go back to the pre-scouting, pre-draft nuggets on him. So he was almost 6'3", 254 pounds. He had 34.5-inch arms, so really, really long arms. He ran 4.55, which is an outstanding time. I go back through my notes on him. He was my 64th overall player. Long and explosive. He's a little bit tight-hipped. They used him kind of as a walk-around blitzer, moved him around, let him work up and down the line of scrimmage. He can really, really close. The effort was outstanding, which we always preach on here about that being one of the key traits of every elite pass rusher is the effort and the consistency of the effort. He could really set the edge in the run game as well. So nice to see him kind of emerging, that burst that we saw in college. That's translated. But I want to go the highlight of the day. I mean, Devin Witherspoon has 2 sacks, has a pick six, 90 plus yards down there right on the goal line. He was all over the field, and they're playing him inside at nickel because of some injuries. And I go back through and I look at my notes. This ought to be encouraging to you. If you're a little undersized out there and you love the game of football and you say, maybe I'm too small. The guy you're looking at with the pick six here and the 2 sacks was 150 pounds as a freshman in college. They played him inside, they played him outside. He ended up getting up to 181 pounds by the combine. But I had compared him to Samari Rolle coming out. He was the top corner for me in the draft in this last year's class. But in terms of a sleight of frame, but just unbelievable instincts, ball skills, playmaking ability. Buck, watching that game last night and seeing him play in the nickel, I was thinking of Antoine Winfield Sr. I know he's taller than him. Antoine Winfield Sr. I think was 5'9", or maybe even a little under 5'9". But the way he played that nickel position, I saw the same thing last night with Witherspoon.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad comparison because you just think about what Antoine Winfield was able to do in the league for a long time. And he certainly passed down some of those tips and instincts to his son. But for Witherspoon, the thing that stood out to me is the nickel position is the hardest position to master in the secondary because you're having to deal with the running game, the passing game, two-way goals from wide receivers, the instincts and awareness that are required to play that position. It's typically not one that you can put a novice in there. He jumped in after Jamal Adams suffers a concussion, and they don't skip a beat. They blitz him off the edge a couple times. He gets in there, makes plays. We've seen on tape, he wasn't afraid to mix it up, putting another playmaker on the field in a position where he's kind of close to the ball. The Seahawks might have accidentally uncovered something that allows their defense to go to another level this season.
Yeah, he doesn't play with any hesitation. He trusts his eyes, and he pulls the trigger and goes. And that's something you saw as a result of tape study, by the way, which he did at Illinois. They raved about it. And obviously, he's doing the same thing here with Pete Carroll and these Seahawks. So a great, great start to the career for Devin Witherspoon. Somebody who's having an unbelievable year is with the 49ers. It shouldn't be a shock. It's Christian McCaffrey. This is a perfect marriage of skill set, which is special, with scheme and with Kyle Shanahan and offensive line. And he's been outstanding. But you look at the touches here. Man, it's piling up. You look at this game, week 4 against the Cardinals, 27 for McCaffrey, 24 for everybody else. The production's off the charts there, Rhett. But when you look at just the touches, he's on pace for 340 carries. That would be a career high by 30-something rushes. Now, he's also catching the ball out of the backfield as well. You see the number, 46% of the team's touches, most in the NFL for Christian McCaffrey. Is this a concern? Is this something they need to monitor and dial down a little bit, or do you just go with the, hey, we're going to run till the wheels fall off on this one?
Well, I'm okay with running till the wheels fall off as long as that's in, like the third weekend of February and not like week 16, and not into the playoffs, right? Where you're talking about, he's limited, didn't practice all week, and, maybe he can give us, 15, 20, snaps or carry. I hope it doesn't come to that. And look, I mean, he is a big, strong, physical dude, but he has had, some durability issues and 80 carries already, on pace for 320. That's just with the carries and not in the pass game. So that's a lot of touches. Would be for sure a career high if it keeps up at this pace. I was just looking, the rest of the running backs, 25 combined carries for Elijah Mitchell, and I threw Kyle Juszczyk in there too. So they don't have a ton of other, carries to kind of pass around there. It's kind of all going to McCaffrey. But look, when you look at the success rate in so many different ways, like he is getting a first down or a touchdown on 30% of his carries. Pretty efficient right there. He leads the league in yards per carry. He's second only to DeAndre Swift and Bijan, who have 30 fewer carries. I said nearly leads the league in yards per carries. Second only to those two guys. The explosive runs, way up there at the top. More impressively here, and this tells you a little bit something about how good the offensive line is and then how good he is. He is second in rushing yards before contact. right? So he has the second most rushing yards before he gets touched. And then he's first in yards after contact. So that is truly like marrying really good offensive line play, good scheme with an elite running back right there. I understand why you want to keep feeding him the rock, Buck.
Look, man, I just looked at the snippets. We talk about his touch. He's not getting touched when he touches the ball. Like 3 of those touchdowns, he didn't get touched. Like it was like playing flag football. So I understand the concern because it's early in the year. And it might be a situation where you're monitoring the carries, maybe in the middle of the year. Maybe you have to dial back and scale it back. But right now, it's working so well. Man, it's hard to say, hey, guys, I know our guy's crushing it. He's one of the more productive players in the National Football League. Let's make sure we kind of use him wisely. He's been so good for this team that it's just hard. 13 straight games, he scored a touchdown for the Niners. I understand it. You talk about the perfect marriage between player and scheme. Christian McCaffrey teaming up with Kyle Shanahan in this scheme, it's been lights out. That's why we're seeing the numbers that we're seeing from the fantastic all-pro playmaker.
Well, he's got a couple big ones coming up, starting with the Dallas Cowboys, the Sunday nighter at home. That's going to be a huge one against a really good Dallas defense. Then they go on the road at Cleveland with Myles Garrett, Jim Schwartz orchestrating that defense. So he's got a couple big tests coming up. Maybe if you are going to dial back the touches, maybe you wait for a couple weeks. Let's get to these next 2 games, which are going to be very difficult opponents. And then maybe you try and dial it back just a little bit. On the other side of that thing, Buck, you look at the Arizona Cardinals in that ball game. Hey, they're competitive. It's in the third quarter. They're competitive. They've been competitive each and every week. Is there something that we missed that we didn't process correctly in the offseason? What are expectations of how terrible this was going to be, and yet how competitive this team has been? What did we miss?
I think we might have missed out on a few different things. One, Monty Ossenfort bringing in the right players to kind of blend in with Jonathan Gannon's system and culture. And then Jonathan Gannon being able to find the right buttons to motivate his team to play hard. There are a lot of things that you can make up in terms of your deficiencies. If you play hard, you give great effort, you have a level of physicality to your game. When you watch the Cardinals, they have all of those things. And really, when I look at this roster, you have a bunch of misfits and cast-offs that are finally having an opportunity to kind of shine on the biggest stage. Think about Josh Dobbs, who was kind of languishing in Cleveland as a number 3. He has an opportunity in Arizona to be the starter. He is taking full advantage of those reps. And so it's just kind of, I would say, we talked about the perfect marriage between Christian McCaffrey and Kyle Shanahan, but you kind of have that going on in Arizona. You have a coach who wants guys that are hungry, guys that are getting after it, and you have a bunch of misfits that are playing really, really well. And even though the record isn't what they want, it's hard to knock the effort and the hustle because it looks great on tape.
Yeah, and I'm happy for Josh Dobbs because this is somebody, again, he's only played 8 games since 2018 throughout his career, so he hadn't got much opportunity. Now he's got 4 starts here. He's not turning the ball over. He's got no interceptions. He's completing over 70% of his passes. So it kind of shows you in this league, if you're going to offensively, just don't turn the ball over, protect the football, get the ball out of your hand, be accurate with it. You know, they're not the most dynamic team. I like Michael Wilson, the rookie receiver, has got a chance to be a really good player for them. But, hey, let's just protect the football, and on defense they play so hard. And I give Gannon a lot of credit for how hard they're playing on that side of the ball. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to jump into the rookies, the rookie draft, one of our favorite things we do each and every week. We can recap last week. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well for Rhett. We'll get to that right after this.
Neither did this segment.
Sunday Morning Football is back on NFL Network and bigger than ever. Live from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, Trevor Lawrence and the Jags take on Josh Allen and the Bills. Rise, shine, and watch a full day of football Sunday, October 8th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network and streaming on NFL Plus. Looking forward to that one. Bucky will be there, by the way, so I have a chance to recap that one when he gets back. Speaking of recapping, looking at the rookie draft last week, we had to change it up a little bit where we didn't have known about the quarterback situation. So we did a running back, we did a pass catcher at the tight end position as well as the receiver position. And hey, lo and behold, look at that. Who won all 3 with Achane, Puka Nacua, and Sam Laporta? That's a 9-point week for me. Bucky with 3 second-place finishes. Well, if there's 3 guys in it, I finished first in all of them. Bucky finished second. Oh, yeah, Rhett got a goose egg. Rhett came up with nothing. Bucky and myself, we're tied at the top now for the season with 18 points. Rhett's looking up a little bit. He's got some ground to make up. The good news for you, Rhett, is that you are going to get the first pick here in just a moment. But before we do that, I'll let you crow a little bit because you were on the Puka Nacua train early. Obviously, you don't get the benefit of the points there because of poor drafting. But I'll give you credit for being on that one a little early.
Well, look, when you have the trust of your head coach and the trust of your quarterback, you're going to get fed. And Puka Nacua, while not maybe the most elite athlete that we had in the wide receiver class, shows you that he can get open. He can catch the ball. He can make contested catches, physical catches. He can get inside on slant routes and make himself open for Matthew Stafford. And even when maybe he even isn't, the read, Stafford just loves getting this dude the ball. Especially on those in-breaking routes in that 15 to 20-yard range. I mean, those intermediate throws, Stafford eats on that stuff all day long. And Puka Nacua, 75% of his routes feels like they are coming some sort of in-breaking cut in that intermediate range. And he is just so nifty at finding a way to get open in that area. And then, of course, his first career touchdown is the game winner. You love that. And it's just, it's all working out right now. And we're talking about the most prolific rookie receiver in NFL history through 4 games. Pretty dang good. Yeah, he was on my team week 1. You better believe it. We were on it from the jump.
You were on it from the jump, but you don't get any carryover. You don't get any bonus points for being able to point him out in week 1. We're there in week 4. We move beyond it. This to me is kind of like the perfect thing when it comes to having a sweet tooth. Like, you got your type, you know what kind of dessert you like, and you go back to the well. And so I go and I look at the comparison between Cooper Kupp and Puka, and size-wise, they're very, very similar. Speed-wise, they were also similar. And then you look at their careers in terms of how they got down at BYU and Eastern Washington, respectively. There are a lot of similarities. And so when you have Cooper Kupp go out, they're able to basically put a clone in and put him in the same spot and allow him to have kind of the similar success. To me, the challenge isn't what's going to happen with Puka as he's continuing to do it with Cooper Kupp out. What are the Rams going to do when Cooper Kupp comes back? Because he's been so productive in this role. Do I want to remove him from this role and put Cooper Kupp there? Or do I want to maybe think about moving Cooper Kupp around and allowing Puka to be productive? Because the offense has kind of been working with Puka, kind of running over the middle. Maybe we can do some other stuff with Cooper Kupp and find a way to get both of these guys on the field at the same time, catching a bunch of touchdowns.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because to me, I don't think this is going to be a problem. If you think back to, the teams with Robert Woods there, with Cooper Kupp, we always talked about how the fact Brandon they're Cooks all interchangeable. That's what makes this McVay offense roll, is that these guys can all move around, play every position. They run so much bunch, they condense the formation down, so they're stacked, and they're all going to get a chance to work in the middle of the field and work on crossers and really kind of operate in space. Which is something that they can all do. So, Rhett, for me, I don't think that's going to be an issue when Cooper Kupp comes back.
No, and now, you add Cooper back into the mix, and you've already seen, we talked about a little bit about it on the Monday pod, Deej, that, Kyron Williams is really rounding into form as, a lead back type of guy, scored touchdowns on their first 2 possessions in Indianapolis. And so, kind of slowly but surely, you're talking about a nice little young core on offense. And then, you got the big play potential with Tutu Atwell. Obviously, Van Jefferson's still there. So, you're building some depth there. Now, if they can get a little bit healthier up front on the offensive line, Matthew Stafford is rolling this year, too. So, I got no issues and no worries about him finding the open dude, no matter who it is, in that Rams offense.
All right, you got a goose egg last week. You got the first pick, so you have to find a point score here. You have to at least get a 1 or a 2 place finish here with this first overall pick, right? Who are you going with?
It's C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud, Texans. Lock it up. Give me the QB. He's 300 a game right now. He's scoring. He's found a terrific chemistry with Nico Collins. Give me C.J. Stroud to get 2 touchdowns, another 300 yards.
All right, wow. I like that one. Man, I could go a couple different places here. Puka's was good to me last week, but man, going up against the Eagles, I know the Eagles gave up 30-burger to Washington, but I think they kind of bounced back in that one. So I think I've got to get points. So I'm going to go with Richardson. I'm going to take the second quarterback. Richardson's been a point scorer. Gosh, he's got 4 rushing touchdowns already. So I feel good that he's going to at least get me a point for second place. Maybe he gets me the full 3 points for being first. But both quarterbacks there off the board, Buck, which gives you some strategy. You can go anywhere you want. You got back-to-back picks.
Yeah, it gives me a lot of strategy. I used to watch A-Team when I was a kid, and I used to love when a plan comes together, because right now the plan is really coming together. I'm gonna take Bijan Robinson right here at number 3, and then I'm gonna follow it up with Puka. So now I have 2 of the most prolific guys in our little draft on my squad right now, and I'll worry about having to take Bryce Young later, but I've already got it. Like I look forward to hoisting the trophy for Week 5 because I love my squad right now.
Interesting that you took Bijan going up against this Texans defense coached by DeMeco Ryans that is absolutely playing inspired right now and limited the Steelers to what, like 0 yards, it felt like, after watching that game. Okay, Buck, if that's the strategy, go for it, bud.
I saw it up close and personal. I saw Bijan do all kinds of stuff while you were watching Toy Story. I was watching it for real. This dude is amazing. Now I think he's going to get enough touches.
All right, DJ, what do you got?
All right. Oh, man. Look, I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Achane. I'm going Achane. I'm going to go with the running back from the Dolphins, who's been awesome. And by the way, Rhett, you're up next, but I'll just kick it to you on this one. This is like if you got a chance to watch Chris Johnson play with an explosive vertical passing attack. Like, think about CJ2K getting all those yards where everybody was just kind of packed in there to try and slow him down. He was the offense. Now imagine him playing with Tyreek Hill and Waddle and all the speed outside, which is going to scare safeties out of there and give him that type of space. That's literally what it looks like. It looks like they've got Chris Johnson back there going up against light boxes. It's just not fair.
This is tough, guys. I mean,
Is it, though?
There's just nothing left at the running back spot. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he's really talented dude, but it's been a dud thus far. It's been an absolute dud. And can I trust it? I mean, obviously I don't have to take the running back right now because you guys both have your running backs. So all I'm trying to do here is find my best path forward from the receiver spot. And
you got back-to-back picks, buddy, so you can do whatever you want here.
Yeah.
Way to pay attention.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think I'm fine here. So, all right, lock me up with Zay Flowers. I think it's going to come together here. I think we're gonna start to see this thing roll. Give me Zay Flowers at the wideout spot and whatever. Give me Gibbs. I don't know. There's anything else to do at this point.
I love the fact that you've got your strategy session that's taking place there when you have back-to-back picks, and they're the last 2 picks you're going to have in the draft. There's absolutely zero relevance to which one of those guys you took first. Absolutely none whatsoever.
Doesn't matter.
But yet, Rhett he's scrimmaging this thing, Buck. Can you imagine him in a draft room? Can you imagine Rhett in a draft room like, all right, Mr. Lewis, General Manager Lewis, we're on the clock right now. He's like, oh crap, we're on the clock. Yeah, no, we've been picking 12
man.
for 4 months.
If I could see the ticker with the picks, we'd be in good shape. But we don't have a ticker. Give me a ticker.
All right. I've got my quarterback in Richardson. I've got
no one else is.
Achane.
Okay, no one else is picking. Let's go. Come on.
So I've got my receiver choice here. And I am actually, I could go in a couple different areas. I'm going to just make sure that I like the matchup here. 1 second. I just want to double check because I want to make sure I'm making the right decision. Yep, I'm going to go. I'm going with Michael Wilson here. Is this the first time he's been selected in our draft? I think, right?
It is.
Michael Wilson out of Stanford, coming off of a huge game last week. Buck, by the way, Michael Wilson and Puka Nacua both trained with Hushmanzada in the run-up to the draft. If you're a receiver and you want to get ready for the draft and get ready for the NFL, maybe go work out with him. By the way, who else? T. Higgins, when he was going through the draft process. Talk about guys who were underrated and who got incredible value with where they were selected. Hoosh doing a great job there. You got the last pick, Buck.
Well, I mean, I don't have a choice. I'm going to take Bryce Young. Bryce Young has to find a way to get it done for the Carolina Panthers. It has been really extremely disappointing to see this offense and to see what Bryce Young has had to work with. The production hasn't been there, and I didn't think that he would set the world on fire. But I thought, and many of us talked about, we kind of felt like this Panthers team would be a playoff contender based on some of the pieces that they had in place defensively and how they would get it going. That hasn't materialized, and my guy's getting battered and beat up, and I'm beginning to worry about him losing his confidence. But this is a bounce back week. Let's say week 5, Bryce Young finds a way to put some points on the board for us.
All right. Well, hey, he's got better every game when you look at it. The trend line is improving each and every week. So hopefully this is maybe a breakout game there for Bryce Young. All right, lots of talk on the offensive rookies. How about the defensive rookies, and in particular, those rookies for the Philadelphia Eagles, which, by the way, they all seem to come from the same college.
A few years ago, Howie Roseman was relinquished of all control from this organization. He was put in the side of the building where I didn't see him for over a year.
Hawks, preach.
Bad dog.
Eagles select Jordan Davis,
Kobe D.
Jalen Carter.
I keep him coming back for more.
General Manager Howie Roseman going to Georgia for some big-time players.
They've got him!
I'm just happy that I'm here with my Georgia Philly dogs.
Hawks, preach. DeAndre Swift, he is the man. Hawks, preach.
Jalen Carter is everywhere.
Jalen Carter time.
All right, it's time for Sacks and Quarterbacks presented by Campbell's. And we're looking right here at the highest QB pressure percentages in the league. You see Micah Parsons up there at the very top with Myles Garrett. Not a surprise, but third and fourth on the list, a couple rookies. Jalen Carter from the Eagles as an interior rusher, and Byron Young, the rookie out of Tennessee, the edge rusher for the Rams. Both those guys over 20% on the pressure percentage, which is impressive. And then you see DeMarcus Lawrence, a familiar name. And then Chase Young, good to see him back in the mix after the injuries he's endured, to be out there and be productive at almost 19% on his pressure percentage. Why don't we start there, Buck, with Chase Young? We'll get to the two rookies in a second, but when you look at Chase Young, it's kind of a reminder a little bit of what he can be when he's healthy, and it's great to see.
It is great to see, and it's great to see for him in a year where he's kind of fighting for a contract. And so for him to bounce back and to kind of display some of the things that really made us fall in love with him when he came out. This guy's a freakish athlete. He has outstanding explosiveness, strength, and power, and now he's beginning to put it together. It was always a question not of the talent, but of the motivation, and could he do it consistently? We're seeing that this year. That's why Commanders fans and Commanders front office should be excited about what he's putting on display.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was like the guy, right, when we were talking about the Commanders and all the firepower that they had up front. Like, he was, that rookie year was special, and then obviously the last couple of been dealing with injury. And then, now you get him back up there with Montez Sweat and with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. And it's like, all right, this is how we actually drew it up, right? When we're talking about roster construction and putting big time pieces and valuable resources up on the front. And I feel like he is kind of the linchpin of that thing. And while he hasn't had as much production as the other guys the last couple of weeks, man, when he's rolling, that's a different level of production that group can give you, Deej.
Yeah, I went back and just watching what he's done this year, and you see, the effort, first of all, has been great. That classic shake bull move that he has, where he gives you a little bit of a stutter and puts his hands inside in your chest and just walk you right back. Then he beat Mulata on a high side rush last week as well. So, I mean, look, he's always been skilled. You go back to his rookie year, 7.5 sacks, and it was like, okay, the trend line for this guy, he's just going to take off as someone who was the top player in his draft class. Just hasn't been out there. When you get a chance to see him out there and see what he can do, good for him. He's going to end up getting paid somewhere. If it's not Washington, it'll be somewhere else. All right, Jalen Carter, talk about rookies being up there amongst the leaders. I think probably most impressive with him as an interior rusher. He's not playing, a ton of snaps. He doesn't have to, Buck, just because of the depth that they have there. But when you go back and watch him the first week against the New England Patriots where he was getting singled up and wrecking shop, and now you watch just about every rep he's had since then, they're sliding to him. They're leaving Fletcher Cox one-on-one, and they're sliding to Jalen Carter, the rookie. That's what the type of reputation he's already earned himself.
But are we really surprised based on the talent that he displayed at Georgia? A lot of the evaluation was clouded by some of the off-the-field things that made us talk about his character, his football character, and those things. It was never about the talent. When you look at the talent that he's putting on display right now for the Philadelphia Eagles, you can see why people were talking about him as the best prospect in the class. He's dominant. He has great instincts and awareness. And when he revs it up, man, he completely takes over the game. For a rookie, 4 games in, to get the kind of command, the attention that he's getting at the point of attack speaks volumes for how offensive coordinators around the league are already viewing him as a potential superstar at the position.
Yeah, and what's crazy is it kind of almost makes you forget about the fact that they drafted a defensive tackle in the top 15 last year. And, Jordan Davis and his buddy and his teammate at Georgia, right? I mean, like, we're talking about Jalen Carter. I mean, we're barely spoken a word about Jordan Davis. And part of that is because, look, they're the deepest defensive line in the league, right? I think, the Jets probably the only team that comes close in terms of pieces that they can rotate through, both on the interior and on the edge. I think sometimes for rookies, it might be a little bit difficult when you're only playing, 18 to 20 snaps or 22 snaps a game to kind of find your footing and make that impact. But he was doing it in the preseason with 2 snaps. Remember that? He was he played like 2, I think literally 2 snaps in his first game. And you were like, whoa, this dude is going nuts. He fits that mold of how they want to rotate through. He can stay fresh. He can stay focused and poised in there and absolutely 100% full tilt.
Well, a lot of attention has gone to Jalen Carter for what he's done this year, and obviously the production when he's been out there speaks for itself. But I also think other guys, rookies that have got attention, Puka Nacua would probably be up there with what he's done leading the league in receptions. But his teammate, maybe a little under the radar. We saw him on that list there in Byron Young. And Rhett, this as somebody who's 6'0", so 6'2", 250 pounds, ran 4.43 coming out, had 10 sacks. His last year at Tennessee, big time get off, a little bit tight, struggled a little bit against the run. But man, he went to the Rams. They have cut him loose, and you see by the pressure percentage there at 20.6, 4th best in the NFL. He is off to a heck of a start, man.
Oh man, it's fun to watch too, and it started right at the beginning of the season for the Rams, and you talk about that 250 pounds, a little bit lighter, right, coming off the edge, but man, he can generate some power with that speed that you talked about with the 40-yard dash. He rushes the passer like as the crow flies, right? Like straightest line to the quarterback, even coming from the edge. He is not going to, have a super deep bend on his rush that's going to take him out of a play. Like he gets skinny and narrow and is straight to the quarterback. He absolutely, showed like he was a vet. He felt like he was a vet edge rusher against Orlando Brown and the Cincinnati Bengals in that Monday night game a couple of weeks ago that Rams ended up losing. But takes a real efficient path to the quarterback. His first pressure against the Seahawks in that first game for the Rams, he goes through, absolutely eliminates a chip and then puts the left tackle cross on his back. And immediately you're like, okay, yeah, Byron Young, we might have to know the name and understand that there is another rookie with his same exact name, but this is the Tennessee Volunteer edge rusher, not the Alabama Crimson Tide D lineman. But Byron Young is going to be a good player here for the LA Rams.
He absolutely is a good player, and you go back and look at his evaluation. You talk about the first step quickness and burst. He displayed it time and time again for the Volunteers. It's another lesson. When we look at these guys as we're getting ready for path to the draft and those things, guys who have a certain skill set continue to display those skills when they get to the National Football League. Even though he wasn't necessarily the ideal height to be a guy that's a front-end rusher, he did it a ton in the SEC, and we have to give those guys credit. We talked about Derek Hall before. We talked about some of these other rookie rushers that have come in and had immediate success. Man, it's the same guys that do it on tape. Sometimes we have to dismiss some of the numbers and just believe what our eyes tell us when we watch these guys sack the quarterback at the collegiate level.
Yeah, the numbers translate, Buck. We've been saying it. We've been saying it for years and years and years and years, and this is another example of that being the case. No, look, when it comes to PFF, and it can be a little bit controversial in scouting circles in terms of, do you buy it, do you not buy it? I always look at it as a guide. I don't take this as the gospel, but when you look at the top rookie grades according to PFF, you see Achane up there, Carter up there, Puka Nacua, Marvin Mims Jr. has had a great year so far for the Broncos. Looks like he could be a real steal for them. Skoronski, the guard for the Tennessee Titans, a first-round pick. Christian Gonzalez, unfortunately, just got hurt for the Patriots. Yeah. I like using the grades, though, as a guide to say, okay, here's a clump of guys that they have high grades on. I want to watch and study those particular players, and I can restack them however I want. But, Buck, I still think there's value in getting some names up in the mix, and it shouldn't be a surprise who was on that leaderboard.
No, I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise because we talk about these guys all the time, about the big established pass rushers, the guys that do it week after week after week. And it's just one of those things that we want to look at. I like proven production. I like guys that are given those opportunities to do it over and over again. And these vets that we're talking about over and over, they do it again and again and again.
Yeah, and you see there on the screen there, I've got a new episode coming up, a DJ Rookie Report that's going to be on NFL Plus. We'll go through this whole rookie class as we're kind of through the quarter poll here and break them down by position, and we'll go a little bit of a deep dive there. Rhett, one of the discussions I'm going to have on there is about the value of certain positions at certain points in the draft. How about the second round with interior offensive linemen? When you look at it this year, Steve Avila, who's been great for the Rams, talk about Byron Young, another rookie for them. Steve Avila playing left guard. He was a 36th pick. We saw Joe Tippmann the other night with the Jets. He stepped into the starting lineup. He was the 43rd pick. Osiris Torrance was the 59th pick. Just before him, John Michael Schmitz has been starting as well. He was the 57th pick there for the Giants. Torrance doing his work with the Buffalo Bills. But there's four guys there between pick 36 and 59 that are plug-and-play interior guys. I think that's a great spot to find those types of players.
I think we talk about that a lot, with those guys, because, all right, is the value, does it really match up in the first round for a player who, I think we talked about John Michael Schmitz, a lot of times it's like, this guy might be the best center in the class. He's probably a 10-year starter somewhere. Well, he ends up falling to the second round because maybe the interior offensive lineman value doesn't feel like it matches up there when you got teams trying to get those edge rushers, right? You got teams trying to get the corners, teams trying to get the tackles. And so it feels like that second round is a great spot for some of those guys. But yeah, you nailed a couple of them there. Avila's been terrific. I was talking to Baldy about him this morning. Matthew Bergeron is playing a bunch for the Atlanta Falcons right now. How about what Tui Pelotu is doing for the Chargers out of the second round? So a lot of those guys on both sides of the ball in the line of scrimmage have really turned up and have kind of made you take notice a little bit there. Isaiah Foskey playing for the Saints too. I mean, like there's Juice Scruggs was going to be a starting center for the Texans before he got hurt. So there's another one there that just hadn't quite got off the ground yet. It's been a pretty good second round.
Yeah, good second round. And one of the things, everyone focused so much on the first round when we get to draft week, and everybody is talking about the first 32 picks that come off the board. But really, team builders, the great team builders, make sure that they make their mark on days 1 and 2, because those first 3 rounds are where you should find starters and future starters. And the round 2, it is the sweet spot, because that's where you find guys that, for whatever reason, there was something just a little off that didn't make them a first rounder, or maybe there was a character thing or a medical thing that they fall out. But those guys have tremendous value, and we're seeing the second round is a sweet spot for a lot of guys to come into the league, start right away, and kind of make an immediate impression for their new team.
And I'm not trying to stir up a hornet's nest on this one, guys, but
oh boy,
look, Bijan Robinson's been great. He's been great, and we all loved him, and I was excited for him to be up there. He's clearly, I think he's proven he's worthy of where he was selected. But we're in a draft now where you look at Charbonnet, who we've seen pop. I saw him pop the other night, looked nice on the Monday night game. You've got Tyjae Spears, who's, when he's out in the field, he's been getting more and more opportunities, has looked good for the Tennessee Titans. Achane's been putting up monster numbers. Tank Bigsby's kind of getting in the mix a little bit. We've seen a little of Roschon Johnson. Deuce Vaughn has found a role. I mean, Buck, I don't want to get us in trouble here on the running back discussion, but this is proving to be another year. It's another
Zero
year where
running
you can
backs
find them. You can find them throughout the draft.
DJ, this is the type of – hold on, Bucky. This is the type of elitism from a scout that's going to cause you to overlook a guy like Dennis Gardeck back in 2018 out of Division II Sioux Falls, who's right now starring for the Arizona Cardinals. And you don't even let me talk about him in the top of the show if you're watching the video show. We need to get rid of this elitism in scouting, okay? I'm tired of it.
Hey everyone, Scott Hansen here, and this is NFL Plus, where you can catch every play all in one place. You get access to live, local, and primetime games on your mobile phone and tablet. That's every in-market game with you on the go.
I never knew that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. And here's my favorite part. You can stream NFL RedZone live every Sunday. What are you waiting for?
Game time, baby. Let's go.
Go to plus.nfl.com. Sign up today.
All right, coming up on Thursday night, we've got a matchup that I'm not going to lie to you, on paper probably doesn't look very enticing, but there's always some storylines and some nuggets we can get excited about, and that is the Bears and the Commanders. Commanders playing good football, by the way. Tough overtime loss against the Eagles last week, but they've been more than competitive. The Bears thought they might get their first win last week, comfortably out ahead of Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos. They collapse, it falls apart. They're 0-4. Buck, right now they'd have the first and second picks in the draft. I guess that's a positive, right? But is there anything positive you can take from what you've seen on the field that could get them maybe a win here on Thursday night?
Okay, so I'm going to go positive. Positive was Justin Fields had maybe his best passing performance that we've seen in his career last week, until he had a couple of turnovers that spoiled the performance. But Justin Fields pushed the ball down the field more, had more success finding DJ Moore and doing some of those things. To me, the mystery that is Justin Fields is, are we so off on him where we were wild by the athleticism, the talent, and those things that, look, the passing skills cannot be rectified, can't be fixed, and he just will never be a frontline starter? Or is this another case of a player being put in a bad situation, bad system, without a coaching staff that had a clear plan for how to use him? I don't know, but I know the clock is dwindling because he has over 30 starts in his career, and the results have certainly not been good from an individual standpoint or from a team standpoint for Fields and the Bears.
Yeah, man, it's tough, right? Because, as you mentioned, man, felt like a terrific 3 quarters of football against the Broncos, and then the Bears just fell apart in the fourth quarter there. Look, I think, some positives, because look, I'm going to be on game day kickoff for this thing on NFL Network on Thursday night. So I'm
sell it.
I'm fishing. I'm getting some of these, and look, for the Bears, they got DJ Moore involved. They got Cole Kmet involved fairly consistently in that game. Couple of touchdown catches. Khalil Herbert has played pretty well from the running back spot. It's like there's 3 targets there for Justin Fields. They can figure out a way to kind of create that game plan centered around those guys. Maybe they can find a way, but they got to be able to protect Justin Fields in this game. That offensive line against Denver didn't have a great day for Chicago. I don't know if there are a bunch of great days in their future until they can continue to fortify that thing, but they got to find a way to give Justin Fields a little bit of time to use some of those playmakers that he does have. On the Commander side of things, man, I just want to watch Sam Howell. He bounced back from a clunker against the Bills in week 3 with those 4 interceptions. Man, this dude is an absolute gamer. Love the way he moves around in the pocket, finds some space to make an open throw, and he can absolutely sling it. I mean, the velocity that comes out of his hand with some of those balls, and the accuracy that he showed, and then the athleticism to get out of trouble and to get some extra yards and make plays. I'm excited to watch Sam Howell get after this Bears defense on Thursday night.
Well, I'm going to give you some positive news for the Bears here real quick. Yep. Sam Howell, the quarterback we're raving about right now, has taken 24 sacks, which is the most in the league. So you've got to be excited about that if you're the Chicago Bears, until you realize that the Bears defense has 2 sacks this year. 2 sacks. They are dead last in the NFL in terms of their ability to get home to the quarterback. That is embarrassingly bad. And then you look on the other side of it, Fields has been sacked 17 times. So that's the 3rd most behind Howell. So they don't. Neither one of these teams can protect the quarterback. The only difference is Washington has 13 sacks defensively. They can actually get after a bad offensive line, where I don't think the Bears are going to be able to do that. So it looks like this is a matchup that favors Washington in a game that every pass rusher should be excited about playing in. All right, Sunday Morning Football is back on NFL Network, and it's bigger than ever. Live from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, Trevor Lawrence and Bucky's Jags take on Josh Allen and the Bills. Rise, shine, and watch a full day of football. Sunday, October 8th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, only on NFL Network and also streaming on NFL Plus. All right, guys, it's time for Road Warriors, presented by Courtyard by Marriott. And Buck, you're going to be out there for that one, going back to London. You've been doing the zigzag thing here, back and forth from the States.
He's the Road Warrior.
Over to London, back-to-back weeks here. He is. You are the Road Warrior, and somebody who I guarantee has a lot of Marriott points. But this is an opportunity for the Jags, see if they can get another one here. But they're going up against maybe the hottest team in the league right now, Buffalo. Yeah, hottest team in the league, and a team that many dismissed after they lost that first game to the New York Jets. But what you've seen from the Buffalo Bills on both sides of the ball, they've kind of figured it out. Josh Allen has found a way to kind of do more with less, meaning he's having the production or whatever, but we're not seeing him kind of make these crazy plays that he had to make in previous years. He gives you enough to tease you that, look, I'm still the elite athlete. I can run and make plays. But it's been a lot of Stephon Diggs and really a lot of James Cook emerging as a stabilizing force to their run game. Buffalo Bills offense has been great, and Sean McDermott has this defense playing lights out. After that first week, this defense has been keeping the ball in front, stuffing the run, playing great. This team is hot. It's a tough one for the Jags. Yeah, I think to me the key in this one's going to be Trevor. Yeah, you cannot lock on. If you lock on with this defense, they have so many eyes on the quarterback with the way they play their zone stuff. They're going to take you. If you take them right to the football, they're going to go take it away. So, Rhett, when I look at this ball game, Trevor's got to be disciplined. To me, it's being patient. They like to get their linebackers out of there. Take the check down. Don't try and be too big in this moment against this Buffalo Bills defense. They're going to require patience, and that's going to be key if the Jags are going to get a win against a really, really hot Buffalo team right now.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of useful and perhaps valuable for the Jags to be in this spot right now where they're the first team to play back-to-back games in London since we started going and playing the International Series, Bucky. So I'd love to get your perspective, having spent time around this club, and how they're viewing this opportunity to kind of get away from the struggles that they have had with the high expectation coming into this season as a team who, won a playoff game last year and was rocking and rolling, in first year under Doug Peterson. And, it's been a little stagnant at times outside of week one, right? So do they view this as a real opportunity to kind of bring this team together? And if they look back on this moment, if they're able to get past the Bills and go 2-0 in London, you look back as this is a real pivotal piece of the season for this Jaguars team?
Yeah, that's how they're viewing it. They're viewing it almost like a mini training camp. When I talked to some players after the game against the Falcons, they talked about this is very similar to when they went to Detroit for joint practices. Go up there, take care of business. It's a business trip. It's not a lot of fun. We're not vacationing. Let's go to work. And it coincides also with the fact that the coaching staff is trying to figure out the identity of the team. They're trying to figure out where the ball should go to. If you looked at the game against Atlanta, they made a concerted effort to make sure Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk got off early, and then Calvin Ridley was the complementary piece. It wasn't necessarily like that the first 2 weeks. It was more Calvin as the feature guy and those guys as the complement. They flipped it a little bit. The offense seemingly had more balance. It worked, and Travis Etienne he ain't Tank Bigsby, but more so Travis. He is beginning to get the carries where they're treating him like a bell cow back. And as they're able to run the football, it opens up things for Trevor Lawrence on bootlegs and play action. This is a big week. They feel like they got better last week. But, man, if they're able to go to London and come away 2-0, it really is a big feather in their cap.
Buck, I'm always intrigued sometimes by the play caller. And with Doug Peterson there with Jacksonville, going up against Buffalo, they lead the league in sacks. They lead the league in interceptions. So they take the football away. But as we've seen in some of the discussion that's taken place over the last couple of weeks about Zach Wilson is, man, you can't take a quarterback stinger away either. You've got to still be in attack mode. What in your experience being around Doug, what is his message to Trevor? I think back to the playoff game last year against the Chargers, all those picks early in the game, but they kept firing. They come back and they win that ball game. Against a team like Buffalo where they can take it away, they know they can get after you. How do you see him approaching this with Trevor?
Doug is really good with the quarterbacks, and he'll kind of tell them, I want you to be aggressive, but I want you to make good decisions. So you can kind of push the envelope a little bit, like try and take some of those throws, but you don't want to do it all the time. You got to understand time, score, situation. When is the time for me to maybe kind of try and fit the ball into a small space? And when is it, hey, the defense won, let's make sure we walk away with points. Trevor has to get better in the red zone because the great players in the red zone find a way to put up 7s, not 3s. That's the one area of emphasis. Can Trevor Lawrence find a way to put the ball in the paint when they get inside the 20?
Well, it's going to be a great game. Looking forward to that. See if the Jags can keep it rolling. It's going to be a tall order, though, the way Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are playing as a complete ball club. All right, that is going to wrap it up for today. I appreciate you guys hanging with us. We've covered a lot of ground, and keep in mind, we've got plenty more coming your way the rest of the week. 5 episodes a week now right here on Move the Sticks. So we appreciate you, and we'll see you here tomorrow. Come on back and join us right here on Move the Sticks.